What's up, Tim?
Hey, dude, how you doing, man? It's been a while.
How was your Thanksgiving?
Dude, it was phenomenal because I had these amazing pumpkin pies that were just a gift from above. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
They
Well,
were definitely good, man. No question about it.
did you
I can't.
have a turkey with your family? Did you have a turkey off of your own farm, by the
Yeah,
way?
actually, I did. It was kind of wild, man.
See, people don't know this. Tim is also turkey farmer.
I'm going to send you the picture. I forgot to do that. Did I send you the picture? No, I did. Probably didn't. Remind me to do this.
So, how many turkeys do you have, Tim?
Still?
How many did you have 2 weeks ago? A month ago? How many did you have a month ago?
How about this? Today I have 19 left.
How many did you have 30 days ago?
I don't know. 30 days. So you got to understand, over the time,
the coyotes eat them, right?
We started with 36.
So 36. How many of them did you eat?
Quite a bit. I don't want the exact number, man, but I don't think.
Well, okay. Well, how many of them did you eat versus coyotes, foxes? Look at that. Those look like some healthy turkeys.
That is Thanksgiving morning. These are the ones, by the way. These are the ones that made the cut. Ah! Those are the males.
So before we get into this video, I just need to understand. So you go out on your back deck or whatever, and you look across your vast tundra of your plantation, and
it's
you're
a
like,
little patch of land, Brian. You over exaggerate,
and then you're like, honey, come here, let's pick one, and then you guys like scan the landscape, and you're like, that one there, and you pick that one turkey. What happens then? Do you shoot the turkey? Do you catch the turkey?
No, you don't shoot the turkey. You bring them in. You give them
How do you bring them in? They don't listen. You can't call them in. What are you talking about?
Actually, they do respond to calling, man. They actually do.
You feed them.
Not so much.
Then you trick them. Do you grab them by the neck at some point? Like, how does this actually happen?
We don't want to get into this, man.
Okay. But right, so just to be clear,
give them a drink, they relax. We put them upside down. They go to sleep.
Okay. So, but you personally pulled all the feathers out and all that. You personally did all that.
Yeah, we put them into it. We put them in boiling hot water after they're passed away, and then we pluck them. And yeah, it's a process, man.
How long is the process? Like from the time you decide, with the time you point at the turkey, to the time that you are ready to put it in the oven, how long is that?
It depends if they see us spotting them. If they see us, they're like, "Oh, out of here!" And then it's, oh my god,
chaos.
They're up in the trees. They're all over the place, man. It's crazy.
Let's say they don't. Let's say after you've caught the turkey, how long does it take to process the turkey?
Honestly, 45 minutes.
All right, that's not bad. I can deal with that.
Yeah,
all right.
It's and honestly, it's fresh. I mean, it's crazy.
I would love it. I should have actually reached out to you and said, "Hey, let me buy one of your turkeys."
Yeah, it was kind of wild, man. Yeah, it really is. But we're still experimenting, believe it or not. Yeah,
they look good. They got healthy looking turkeys. Like
they're very healthy, man. In fact, too damn healthy because I feed them too much. But now they're like family, so it's kind of hard. But would you eat your family?
Well, I would not. I would not. Have you named the turkeys and all that? Do you have names for them? And
no, I didn't name the turkeys. I named the goats.
Do you have? But you don't eat the goats, do you?
No, God no.
All right, so that's part of it.
Yeah.
All right, Tim. What's the forecast for the housing market as it has to do with the Trump administration? I think as the campaign trail was going down, I sent an email out about this. Like the proposals for getting the housing market were a little vague on the Trump side of things. Like Kamala had this $25,000 tax credit. You and I talked about it. It was a terrible idea.
It was. It didn't make sense. All it did was throw money to people after the purchase.
It was a tax credit, right? It didn't help at all.
Exactly. What solves it is let's go FHA, no money down. I mean, think about it.
So what's your understanding of Trump's proposals for stimulating the housing market? And I'll give you some things that people probably haven't thought about.
Well, why don't you start with your list, and I'll concur.
All right, so my list is this. I watch politics like some people watch football. I watch like the crazy people that watch like ESPN at 12 o'clock at night. Like I watch podcasts for hours and hours. I've listened to tens of hours of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy going in depth on their policy beliefs. And it just so happens Donald Trump put them in charge of the DOGE, whatever that stands for. I can't remember, but it's economic something or other.
It's the new Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, that just so happens to be the name of Elon's Bitcoin, but it's the Department of Economic whatever, right? But like
government efficiency.
Department of Government Efficiency, correct.
Yeah.
So the little background on Vivek for people who don't know, when he was running for president, the main thing that put him in the headlines was he proposed that through some wizardry, he was going to eliminate the entire Department of Education day one. Like everybody is fired. And when people would kind of press him on it, you would think it was something some politician would say and he would have some stupid answer, but he had this very detailed process and procedure. According to, section blah, blah, blah of this law, the government of this agency has the authority to grant this particular, rights to this agency, and they can, do this, that, and the other. And somehow that could all happen day one. And assuming maybe some of that was bravado, there was still an underlying understanding that he had a deep, and then he would also discuss like a 60% reduction in the size of the federal government across the board.
Correct.
So people might think that's a crazy idea. I think, that sounds crazy. Like we've all grown up with government employees around us where they're all fine people. And then you have Elon Musk. So Elon Musk bought Twitter a couple months back, fired almost everybody. Do you know what percentage of people that Elon fired?
Oh, was it 40%,
50%? 80%.
Whoa. What
so
the heck?
I don't know off the top of my head, but he spits this out if you ever ask him the question, like how much faster Twitter loads and runs and what the response time is. It's 3 times faster with 20% of the employees.
Wow.
So if you know anything about Elon Musk, he's sort of a modern day Henry Ford, where he's figured out, and some people, understandably are mad at him because he seemingly underpays his employees and different things, but he's known to be the guy who can create efficient things. So if you ever listen to him discuss how government is broken, the number one description he's going to give is the idea that in San Francisco, they tried to put a public restroom in on the street somewhere.
Toilet? Yeah.
Well, they spent $1 million and they never built a toilet. They did. So his description was the layers of red tape that get put on all these different, even local governments, because they don't ever take away anything. They only add, and eventually like the layers get so thick. So you have all these different studies you have to do. Like you and I are aware of, for instance, if a local builder had 150 acres and he wanted to put in 30, 40 houses in a neighborhood, the number of studies that they would have to do, the traffic studies, the environmental studies, and then they would have to get all these special, perhaps they would have to put in a sewer system, because if you're putting in so many houses, you can't use septic tanks.
Yeah.
The state of Maryland is trying to get away from septics. The cost involved with that, and then you have to put in a certain percentage of open space, and you have to have stormwater runoff. You have to create like a lake, and then you have to have all these other things put in place. So the level of complication is extremely high. Long story short, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, if that idea that they're describing is serious, I think it's going to be a huge deal.
But he talked about this. Elon came out and said, look, it takes me longer to get a permit to launch a spaceship than it does to build the damn rocket.
Amen.
I mean, that's nuts. That is totally crazy. You know what I mean?
So we can agree that the percentage of people that work for the federal government, type that in Google, percentage of
I gotta bring Google up.
people who work for the government.
What are you getting?
It says 13% of employed people are working in the government sector. So it's 2% of the U.S. workforce, but it's 13% total, 13.4% total. That's a huge number. Like, and then if you compare that to what it's been in the past, that's extremely high. So I guess what I'm trying to say here after this long 15-minute explanation is there's a chance that a large number of government employees are going to be laid off. And then think about this.
All right.
All of the people in the Washington, D.C. area either work for the government, or they work for a contractor who supports the government, or they provide services to the employees of the government and or the people that are doing contract work for the government. One way or another, we are all, myself included, yourself included, are very closely tied to the federal government. And if, God forbid, there was a even 10% reduction in the workforce, 20% reduction in the workforce, that would have an enormous impact on the Washington, D.C. housing market.
A positive impact on the Washington, D.C. metropolitan marketplace. I mean, let's talk about it, Brian. Let's open the can of worms. Let's talk about it. Ready? It's really simple. Let's call in all the folks that are working remote. They're going to come in and they're working now back to their offices. We're re-stimulating the D.C. metropolitan area. We're filling the buildings.
No, they're fired, Tim. They're not coming back to the office. They're going to Montana to work at
we're freeing up the inventory, the desperate need for the inventory that's out there. I mean, think about it. It's going to make things more efficient, more effective. We're going to get things done faster. Businesses perform better with less regulation. Brian, this is a win-win, man. This is not a bad thing.
I don't disagree. However, there is the impact on our local housing market.
Which to me is positive. They're going to see more houses come available. You're going to see a bigger marketplace. I think it's going to be a home run, man. People are now calling already, wondering how do I get in on this? I'm serious.
Well, so let's just say theoretically, okay. Theoretically, if over the next couple of years, 20 or 30% of the federal government workforce was and I remember Vivek in his proposal had some sort of a relocation program where they would softly land them somewhere else in the country, maybe give them some sort of a severance package.
I don't think they're just going to dump and run. I really don't see that at all. You know what I mean?
It appears to me that we have an oversaturation of federal employees in this area, and if they were to be laid off, what you might see is an enormous amount of people that are having a huge financial hardship. And we also agree they probably have a ton of money of equity in their house at this point. Everybody in Northern Virginia is sitting on $500,000 in equity in their house, probably on a percentage basis. So it's not like these people are going to be, on the streets or anything. But I think that it would be financially troubling. The last time that I remember, and you maybe have a little bit longer memory than me.
Yeah.
The last time I remember that we had this serious sort of a scare was somewhere around 1988. They were considering shutting down the Patuxent Naval Air Station because I think it was either Reagan or George Bush one was doing a reevaluation of how many we have too many bases. We're spending too much money. The federal government's spending too much money. That's back when the federal deficit was like a third of what it is today. And probably less than that. And they were worried about, spending too much money. Again, where is this all coming from? It's coming from the idea we have like $30+ trillion in federal debt. It would be like if a U.S. household that made $100,000 had, what would be $33 million in debt, something like that. Like what's our GDP? Like 2 trillion and we owe 36 trillion, something like that. Is that the numbers? Is it roughly?
It is rough. There's no question about it. But let's go back. Let's kind of unpeel the onion there. Okay. First of all, you have a lot of folks that are going to retire. A lot of folks that are going to exit the government. I mean, that's kind of attrition. They've been working from home. Hasn't been that bad of a drive. They're like, I could do this for a few more years. Now the government's going to come in and say, listen, you need to come back to work. You need to help. You need to work. Where you need to live where you work.
Yes, so another thing Elon's big on is get your butt back to work. There's no work from home on Elon's watch.
So all the house sales that's going to occur, all the market's going to be stimulated by all this movement of people. That's number one. Okay. Number two, you're going to have a lot of retirees. They're going to say, whoa, I think I'm done. I think I'm going to go ahead and take some time off. They're going to exit. What's that do? That frees up more positions for more people, right? It takes some of that attrition number away.
But the idea that I see is that it's like a one-way street, though. There's nothing replacing those jobs. There's no Amazon. There's no contract. There's no like business. There's no Walmart or other companies coming in to replace those jobs. These people are only going out. Your assumption is that there's just going to be sort of a transfer. Who's going to buy all these houses? If like tens of thousands of houses go up for sale in a short amount of time, don't you think that would cause somewhat of an economic hardship collapse?
No, because I'm seeing all the people that have to move back to Washington, D.C. to keep their D.C. jobs, and because they relocated and they're working remote right now from South Carolina, and they're working at the Pentagon, and they're like, you know what? This is great. I got to come back into the area. It's a win-win.
What if they're fired? I'm saying, what if they're fired?
Well, first of all, think about the people that are being let go is due to government institutions that unfortunately have too many people on site or unemployment. I think there's going to be some changes. Look, Brian, I went from 32 employees in 2022 to 8 in 2024. Dude, it's the supply, it's the yin yang. It's the way business is.
So here's what I would draw this analogy. The federal government is the equivalent of the paper mill in a small town in the 40s. And the paper mill just got shut down. And the whole town works for the paper mill. Now the deli's going out of business, or the diner's going out of business, the car mechanic's going out of business, the bank's going out of business. To me, it feels like if that's what they're proposing, it feels like there's going to be this trickle-down catastrophe in some respect.
But you're assuming the whole mill is closing down. The mill's not closing down, Brian. The mill's just getting more efficient. I mean, look at the robots that are coming into the area. Look at how many people are being taken over because of AI. There's no longer a need. There's going to be change. There is going to be some pain, Brian. There's no question about that. But the mill's not shutting down. The mill's becoming more efficient.
No, I'm saying it's good on one hand. Like America needs dad to come home from work and say, listen, this house is a mess. We're going to have to clean this up. It's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. I don't disagree with the principle that this needs to happen. What I'm, zooming in a little more on is just the individuals that have, good, hardworking government employees that do have roles and responsibilities that might be eliminated. I feel like that is going to have an impact on, Southern Maryland, Prince George's County, Anne Arundel County, obviously Northern Virginia is going to be hugely impacted.
So let's divide this into two areas. Ready? Number one, impact on the housing industry. To me, it's going to be good. Okay. Good. It's going to be freeing up inventory. It's going to cause movement. It's going to free up people that have houses, have equity, they've been waiting to retire. It's going to force change. Okay. Change it's not always easy. It's just like going to working out at the gym. You know that.
Go back to this paper mill. That changed when the paper mill got shut down wasn't good. Like now there's rusty cars in everybody's driveway. People can't sell their house because there's swaths
you're taking it to the extreme, which is not going to be the case. You told me 13%, Brian. 13%.
No, Elon fired 80%.
Right.
Vivek was describing firing 60% of the federal employees. If that happened.
If they're not all in the DC area, they're spread throughout the United States, number one. Number two, we're getting rid of some.
But just on a percentage basis.
Sure.
If the percentage basis of 60% of the people that work for the government were all fired, that would be I don't want to. I did this like 2 years ago. I want to say that there's 1 million people in this area that work for the federal government. So if 600,000 people lost their job, that would be devastating. It would be the equivalent of the steel mill shutting down in, Pittsburgh and Baltimore and Ohio, and it would be the coal mines shutting down in Kentucky and West Virginia. It would be the equivalent of that.
I think you're taking things to the extreme, though. I think that's the only catch-22, Brian. You're taking it to the extreme, saying, "Well, this whole paper mill is going to be shut down." Maybe not. Maybe things become more efficient, and we're not just a paper mill anymore, but we're making chips and we're
No, I
creating new
get it.
technology. I'm just
get it.
saying, I'm saying necessity is the mother of invention. And
I'm
we're
saying
taking the
it's
next
good
step.
on one hand. It's like, so as an
I concur.
American,
There's going to be some pain.
it's good.
Yes.
As a local DC resident, area resident, I'm not saying it's bad.
I'm also saying that we're going to be building, right,
going to be potentially negatively impactful.
So is $32 trillion in debt. So is the value of the dollar. So is our children's ability to buy homes in the future. Let's all nail it down. But we've got to do something, Brian. There's no question about it, man.
So what would you do if you were considering a buying or selling in the next 12 months? Would you wait and see how this plays out?
No, I honestly, I would be prepared to buy. I think opportunity is going to raise itself up, and I think there's going to be new options for folks. That's why I'm excited. How many people are on the sidelines waiting to buy, Brian? That's my whole point, man. They're waiting to buy.
Listen, I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing that if 60% of people had to sell their house, 600,000 people had to sell their house, that as a listing agent, I wouldn't be in a good position for that to happen. I'm not rooting for that to happen. I'm not
either, but I'm saying it's going to be great for the housing industry. I think it's going to promote. I think honestly, there's going to be new jobs, new opportunities. I look at the positive and everything. You know that is the glass half full or half empty? For me, it's always half full, right? I mean, that's the way I always look at life. And we got to constantly change. It's change. It's all there is to it. It's going to make us grow. It's going to make us stronger as a country.
No, I agree with that. As an American, it should happen. As a local DC resident, I'm fearful that it's going to be painful.
So if I was a government employee today, I would look at three things. I look at what are my skills? What can I do to tighten up my skills now? What can I make myself more valuable to the institution that I'm in? And I do that every day as an employee, as being self-employed, working for a company. I do the same thing every day. That's number one, right? So skills. Number two, where am I on the budgets process? I mean, think about it. How does my budget look today? How's my debt look? Do I need to do a debt consolidation? Do I need to move? Where's my situation financially, right? And then number three, long haul, right? I looked at those two things. I look at, what's my overall contribution to the company? How can I make myself demonstrate my value overall to the firm? So if you look at those three things, Brian, you're in a good place. If you can look at yourself and say, hey, I really don't do much for the company, well, maybe it's time to change. Maybe it's time to go back to school.
Or if you work for the Department of Education.
Well, maybe you go back to being a teacher. Right. I mean, we have such a demand for teachers. It's unreal. Think about it, Brian. I mean, you want to talk about an institution that needs people? Teachers.
Yeah.
I mean, social workers.
Yeah.
I mean, education. There you go. Let's talk about that. We have a lot of nonprofits that need financial assistance.
Listen, my kids are homeschooled, Tim. I'm not arguing that this is not needed. I'm not saying that the Department of Education isn't in the process of trying to indoctrinate people around ideas that I don't agree with. My children are homeschooled, and I don't disagree with the fact that our federal government
is bloated.
Whoever you want to blame for this, the boomers or the whatever Xers or whatever generation.
It just got out of control. It's so tough right now, Brian, that people in the public sector employment are paid more than the private sector and have long-term pensions.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think that was ever the intent. I really don't. I think the pensions were a benefit because you didn't have the private sector employment in the jobs. Nowadays, it's flip-flopped.
All right, we got it figured out.
There you go, man. Is it going to be good? Yes, guys. It's going to be great for the housing industry. It's going to be a little bit painful. We'll get through this. We always do, man.
We'll do this. Uncle Tim will help us. And we might have to eat turkeys. We might have to eat some of Tim's turkeys.
And we'll be raising our own chickens and eggs.
That's an option. Like another thing to think about. If you want to take this to the next level, get yourself some turkeys.
There you go, man.
Because they're good.
All right, brother.
All right, Tim. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Bye.